Welcome back to another episode of Two Types of People. I am Pat Sickens, and today I have a very interesting and exciting episode for y'all. I have two guests with me. First time we've done that, actually, so this is going to be excellent in getting going before we hit recording. I can tell you we're going to have some fun on this one. So today I have Dr. Kevin Elko and Mr. Mitch Covington, and these guys... You look at them online and you see their titles, and I got to be honest, I don't think it does nearly the justice. As an example, to say top motivational speaker and best-selling author, Kevin, doesn't quite do it justice. And Mitch, senior VP of sports for Monster Energy. Again, there's a lot that could probably go into that. So, guys, before we dive deep into the conversation, first of all, thank you for coming on. Thank you to Rachel Barbeau for introducing the two of you to me and bringing you into this conversation to highlight her episode. But I'll let you guys go ahead and give me just a quick introduction and introduce yourselves to the audience. So, Kevin, I'll start with you.
Well, one thing you left out, I like telling people, I'm from West Virginia, and I got my teeth, so that's you got to get that up on in there. And I just do a lot of stuff with sports. Came back to Pittsburgh to work for the Steelers. Years ago, I was with interning at the Olympic Committee, and I came here to work for Pittsburgh. I'm still here. Came in with Bill Cowher years ago when he started. Started working on the draft and working on like attitude. Cowher comes in and goes, "You're going to help me select athletes based on attitude." I said, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Our athletes don't know the meaning of the word fear." I'm like, "They don't know the meaning of most words. Like, what do you want to do here?" And he said, "Well, we're going to look at the way people think." And so went from there. If you watched 30 for 30, the U, I went down and worked with them. But I've been with Nick Saban for years, just working on the way people, it's real easy. When I work with teams, lucky enough to work with the magic of Monster, with, of course, who are the three really great guys I like working with: Rob, our CEO, Hilton, one of our owners, and Mitch. We just really work on attitude and how you talk to yourself. It's that simple. The conversations you have. So I was with Alabama for years, got some rings with Nick there, and was lucky enough to meet one of the blessings in my life here, Mitch Covington. So we went and we worked together. We speak together. We just spoke together down in Baylor. We spoke together in a prison out in California. And so just really working on attitude kind of stuff, focus kind of stuff. Been with the Eagles here with their last Super Bowl, worked with Alabama, Saban's whole time, with the University of Miami, back with the U now with Mario Cristobal. And so really just, we'll get into it a little bit later, but more teaching why I call earworm, teaching people how to talk to themselves. And we'll go into two types of people. Mitch and I uh, already have set up that whole conversation, but just like enough to work everywhere with people with attitude. So, and how you talk to yourself and self-talk and focus and that sort of things.
And that's a heck of an introduction. And so, how many rings do you have in total, Kevin?
39. Yeah, sitting off to my left here.
That is that some kind of Guinness World Record? I mean, I don't know many people that have that many championship rings.
I have more rings than Nick's. I have more rings here than Mitch's cell phone. Hey, that's a lot of rings. That ring, I've been with that boy. That phone goes all the time.
People want money. People want sponsorship, right?
That's right. Well, Mitch, I think that's a good a good transition over to you. Why don't you go ahead and tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I'm Kevin's sideman. I'm Ed McMahon. All right. Uh, just I just come hang out and chime in when he gives me the cue, right? Uh, no, I'm probably the luckiest guy you'll ever meet. I went from spending from I grew up in a small town in Alabama with one red light. I spent, I don't know, 15, 20 years in the garbage business and the trucking business. And today I'm 20 years into a career at the top of the sports world at Monster Energy. And that's a long story how that happened, but nonetheless, I'm very lucky. I've gotten everywhere I've gotten by failing at what I did, and and learning from it. And so, Kevin, I met him when my son was 6 years old. He won a national championship on a motorcycle in dirt bikes. I meet Kevin because I see his name in an article in the Birmingham News where Coach Saban was bringing him with him and had been with Coach Saban since his career started pretty much down at LSU. And Um, and I liked a little bit of what I read there, so I looked this guy up and I read all his books, and I used all that. And my son went on to be a accomplished professional racer, and since then, me and Kevin became really close friends, and we use him constantly at Monster, and so I've become not just a fan, but a really close personal friend with um, one of the most spectacular guys you'll ever meet. And so hopefully I can help you guys out today with being Ed McMahon here.
That's fantastic, guys. So I wanted to start, and Kevin, with all the championships that you have been a part of, I wanted to talk about the most memorable because you talked about some unbelievable programs and dynasties. What was the most memorable championship that you were a part of, and why?
Even what you're writing about now, and people say this word, they don't define it. And if you watch the whole thing, as you get to know Mitch, he's being humble. He's much more than uh, Ed McMahon. Once you get to know his life, there's two seasons, and both of them had resiliency behind it. What exactly is resiliency? Resiliency is coming back from a setback, and a phrase. Here's why he's no Ed McMahon. A phrase that Mitch turned me on to is called anti-fragile. It's when you get a setback, but you come back higher. People talk about resiliency coming back to the same spot. No, you come back to a different spot. You come back stronger. So it was two of them. The first was when the tornadoes came through Tuscaloosa, killed many people, I think 51 people, including Birmingham. And that season, we lost in overtime to LSU. And the season was kind of metaphor for comeback. So we didn't come back the same level. The goal was to come back much further. So one of my phrases that now has been coined all the time is "so what, now what?" And we came back. We used it as a set to show people how you come back higher. And we're playing LSU again for the national championship. We lost to them, and they won the SEC. We're playing for the national championship, and we said this is a setup for a comeback to show everybody we come back stronger, we come back better. So what, now what? And in that season, one of the people I'm closest to was someone named Carson Tinker, our long snapper, who had his fiance in a closet in Tuscaloosa. Tornado came in and killed his fiance and threw him like 200 feet, broke his ribs, broke him up. And he kind of was the person that led us. I call him the thermostat to let us back. And we played LSU the second time. They never crossed the 50. Never crossed the 50. They didn't come back to the same spot. And if you want to talk real resiliency, you have to understand, and I'm having Mitch talk some about anti-fragile. They came back higher. The second one was the Eagles. That Super Bowl when we lost Carson Wentz, who was the MVP candidate. And then at that time, Vegas gave them the longest odds to win the Super Bowl, but they're in the playoffs. And I don't know if you ever heard this phrase, positive anger. It burns clean. So they used their positive anger to come back about what people said about them. They wore dog masks all the time. And in that one, I worked with Foles, and I teach self-talk. And if you know the story, in Jerusalem, David became the king of Israel. But when he did, they said, "We got your director of security." He said, "Who?" "Benaiah." What did he do? He came face to face with a lion. He ran at the lion. The lion turned and fell into a pit. He killed it with his bare hands. He jumped in. So Foles was saying the whole time, run to roar, run as the lion, be bold. And he was the MVP. So it was the resiliency. But I want Mitch to talk about this somewhat. When we talk about resiliency, we got to go to the next level. We got to talk about not coming back to where you were, coming back to a higher spot by changing your self-talk. Mitch, define for them the concept you turned me on to, anti-fragile.
Well, anti-fragile, there's no word in the dictionary called anti-fragile, and there's no word in the dictionary that is truly the opposite of the word fragile. So when you think about fragile, you think about a package that you ship, you wrap it and you put fragile on it. That means if it drops and takes an impact, that that thing is probably worth nothing, but it's definitely worth less than it was before it had the impact. Uh, the opposite of that is not resilient. resilient means that it comes back when it takes an impact, it comes back to the way it was. Anti-fragile is truly the opposite of it. It means that it come back after an impact better than it was, worth more than it was. So imagine a package you drop and break it, and when it arrives, it comes back much bigger, shinier, and better than it was. And you know, the title of your podcast is Two Types of People, and you know, uh, the first thing that popped into my mind was fragile and anti-fragile. You take two people that go into prison, and I'm totally making this up. I hope it comes out well, but nonetheless, you take two people that go into prison that have drug addiction or they whatever they have, they're broken. They take an impact. They wind up there in your life. 10 years later, the two people come out. One of them learned how to be a criminal in prison. He made friends with the wrong people. He went deeper into his situation. He not only was he not resilient, he was fragile. He came out more broken than he went in, and he ends up going back. The other guy, he goes in, he says, "I got to turn it around." He meets the right people. He works the right programs. You know, he he decides he's anti-fragile. He comes out and goes on to do great things. And throughout life and throughout the Bible, you know, how many people in the Bible went to prison? You know, instead of uh, dying in despair about their situation, they came out and we're still talking about them today, 1,000 years later. That's anti-fragile. And it all comes from Greek mythology where Hercules had an enemy named Hydra. And Hydra was this big snake that he had trouble killing. It was his toughest opponent ever because every time he cut his head off, three would grow back, which presented a problem. So, you know, there's two kinds of people. There's the kind that, you know, gets worse and there's the kind that gets better. Be the kind that gets better, you know.
Those two teams, those two teams were just finished. Those two teams were what he was talking about. They took the situation, came back higher.
I love the analogy, right? If you've got a team wrapped in a package, right, and they've got the bubble wrap, and something happens, you either want them to come, you can come back the same, or you open that box up and they're bigger, stronger, faster. That's what you want. So, Mitch, this whole idea, and guys, this is fantastic. Anti-fragile. I'd never heard of it because it's not a word until you guys made it up, which is great. Where did this come from? I mean, you just talked about Greek mythology, but what happened in your life where you said, you know what, this is something that's happening. This is something that we need to focus on because it's a problem.
Well, I read it in a book. I'll be honest with you. I can't remember the author's name. I can't pronounce it. I'm from Alabama. I can't pronounce weird names. But nonetheless, I was listening to a podcast right about the time Charlie Kirk passed away, and it was a clip. Maybe it was on Instagram or whatever that got me to it. But basically, he was on there, and the guy asked him, "What books have you read lately?" And he said, "Man, I highly recommend this book called Anti-Fragile." And so I ordered the book, and that's where I got it. I'm no genius. I'm side guy to Elko, right? Eh, the it but you know, so many you see it in your everyday life. You see things that are fragile and things that are not, and you know, what strikes me is you have to want to be anti-fragile to be. You're not really born anti-fragile. You have to really put forth the effort. Yeah, you have to practice it, but it's you know you see it every day with people. One person fails and he goes further down. Other person gets back up. You know, and Kevin can talk to it as well. But you know, if you're not careful, uh, this I didn't read in the book, and it's kind of contrary to what most people say. Most people say success breeds success. I, it can, and it does at times, but it also can breed failure. Success can breed failure, and failure can breed success. And you know, how many times have you seen, like this weekend, UFC fight at the White House, the main event? Justin Gaethje's a 6-1 underdog. Nobody gives him a chance. His opponent was 17-0. He had the ultimate success in his career. Never lost a fight. and they gave him an easy fight, a 6-1 underdog. He had a party the night before to celebrate the win. He was so confident he was going to win, right? So his success bred failure, right? It bred failure because he got beat up so bad by the 6-1 underdog that he couldn't come out for the last round. So that success he had is what bred that failure. So you have to be conscious that can happen, and be anti-fragile, not the fragile. He turned out to be the fragile one.
Oh, Kevin, when you work with teams and you're trying to select players like you did with Cower and people like that, Mitch has said we're not born anti-fragile. It's something that you have to practice, that you have to learn, massage, all that good stuff. So, how do you identify someone? Like, what are those characteristics of someone that is anti-fragile?
The best predictor of the future is the past. And so what you're trying to do is when you ask somebody a question, like you say, tell me of a time, tell me about something you went through. And the anti-fragile, and you're looking at the way that they think. That's really, I mean, you're real close to Rachel. What Rachel Barbeau, when she says change the narrative, she's saying change the conversations you're having with yourself. So what you're doing is you're trying to bring up a situation. Tell me of a time. So years ago, I'm interviewing someone, and the phrase you're listening for is this phrase right here. So what, now what? Which is a phrase that we developed at Alabama after this kick six play with Auburn. And that phrase for a long time hung in the back of the Georgia weight room. That phrase hung in the back of the Alabama weight room. That phrase hung in the back for a while of the New York Jets weight room, which is evidence my stuff doesn't work everywhere. So anyway, what you're trying to do is tell me of a time. So years ago, I'm with the Steelers early on, and I said, well, tell me about your adversity. If you don't realize it, when I came on with you, I was asking you, well, tell me of a time, tell me. And you're trying to find out, you're trying to listen. They'll tell you the best predictor of the future is the past, and unless they change the narrative, as Rachel said. So I'm sitting at the combines years ago. They bring all the players in Indianapolis, and I got this guy in front of me and said, tell me of a time you had adversity. He said, I had a separated shoulder at North Carolina State for years. I said, wow. I said, you play? He said, yeah, all through the pain. How did you do it? Now watch what he said next. This is kind of what I teach. This is what Mitch teaches with me. He said, I walked on my field. Now listen close to this next phrase. And I said to myself, that's what I want to hear. I walked on the field and I said, you interview anybody you want, my man. That's where the gold sits. And I said to myself, I said, what did you say to yourself? He said, if my mother can go to work with cancer and she did every day for 6 years and she never missed a day, I could play football. So I didn't came off of my script and said, how's your mother? He said, we buried my mother last month. That guy's name was Torrey Holt. He was a MVP of the Super Bowl. He was an unbelievable player. The gold sits into, as we talk about anti-fragile, so what, now what? I said to myself, and if you're around me or you're around Mitch, you'll hear this all the time, and even your two kinds of people. One group of people say, this is awful, this is terrible, I'll never amount to anything. The other one says, so what, now what? That happened for me. That happened for me. And so it really, what drives it is our internal interactive, our internal narrative. And you could choose, that's the phrase you used early, to change it. That's where that goes. I choose to talk to me different.
And you talked about the earwick up front, and so talk to me about, like, it sounds good, and I know you guys have had extreme success with I'm changing the narrative, but when you're down, whether it's a day, a season, you feel like life's kicking you, how can you get out of the woe is me's and, get into that positive mind frame of saying, I'm going to be anti-fragile. I'm going to come back bigger and better. But how do you get over there? Because I know people get looped in.
I want to answer on the front end, Mitch, and you share stuff you've been through personal, whatever level that you want. First, it comes to identity. I work with Jalen Hurts and our owner at Monster Hilton. They have a phrase. It's identity. I was born for the storm. The calm doesn't suit me. And I'm doing that because Jalen's got that on his. I was born for the storm. I was made for this. I was made. It comes back to identity. And I'm not going to say exactly how I say it. Rachel knows this, but I was jogging a few years ago out of Torrey Pines. I fell. I broke 3 ribs. I ripped a muscle in my back. And I'm going to keep this clean. I'm down on the ground. And I said, "You're Kevin blankety blank Elko. Get up. Finish. Finish it." It starts with identity. You see yourself as. I see myself as somebody. And I'm from West Virginia area. He's from Alabama. He could tell you his story. We both been through some stuff with our hearts. We've been through some stuff with family. And you just got to believe. I was born for this. I was made for this. I was made for this storm. And you have to convince yourself, this is what I am. I'm born for this. And so after that, then you learn how to talk in a way that fits your identity. Mitch, you go ahead and talk about how does somebody come back like that?
Well, first you gotta realize something that I read one morning that stuck with me, that what looks like a loss today may be great gain in the future. Um, you have to have, to me, you got to have faith. That, hey, I'm going. That's not who I am, and I lost, or I had this issue. Uh, maybe there's a reason, but I'm going to come out of it much better than I went in. I'm going, but I'm jumping on Kevin's bandwagon about identity and how big a thing that is. And, he's got to steal one of Kevin's earworms. In life, you're either a lion or a greyhound. And I don't know if you've ever heard that story, but yeah, you're either a lion or a greyhound. You talk about being two, the theme of your show. Uh, and it's about identity. Which one do you want to be? Well, what's the difference? Well, a greyhound, it races, it chases that little paper rabbit around the circle while we bet on him, right? To get him to do that, you have to starve that thing. They don't feed him for a day. He's hungry, man. He'll catch the paper rabbit. He's hungry, and he'll run like crazy to catch that thing, man. But once he finishes a race, they feed him. They give him a big bowl of food. He's happy, man. He rolls over. If a real rabbit came down and laid down beside of him, he wouldn't roll over and eat it. He's satisfied, man. He's got his belly full. Life's good. I ran my
Whether he wins or loses, he gets the food. Doesn't
wins
matter if
or
he wins
loses.
or loses, he gets the
Wins or
food.
loses, man. Life's good. They fed me. I'm good. You know, a lion's the other way around. His DNA and who he is, his identity, is he's got to provide for his pride. He's got to provide. If a deer runs by, he pounces on that deer and he kills it. He eats it. He goes back, eats till he's full. If another one trots by, no matter how full he is, boom, he eats it again and he kills it. Another one walks by, stops eating, kills it. He eats it. It's in his DNA. That's who he is. He's decided he's the alpha predator there, man. And that's what I do is I bring food to the rest of the boys. And you have to decide, as an athlete especially, but in life, are you going to get fat, dumb, and happy every time you have a little success, or even if you don't do so well, but you get comfortable, and it's an identity thing to me. I go back and say, which one am I? Right? Because you see that all the time. Like I say, I saw it this weekend in the UFC in the biggest fight of the year. You know, the guy was happy. He's 17-0. He got a big check. He's the star of the show at the White House. Life's good, man. And they got me a little underdog here for me to pick on tomorrow night. He ends up in the hospital.
And by the way, he's talking about the fight that was at the White House this weekend.
Correct. Yeah. So for those of you that are listening, watching, we're talking about the UFC fight that happened at the White House, first time ever. And Mitch was a big part of it. I'm assuming I can say that.
I was there. Yeah. Quick.
Him and his
You get pretty
him
good seats.
and his whole team of Rob and Hilton, his whole team of Monster, were a big part of that.
And so anyway, it's the guy would have been better off if he'd have heard Kevin's earworm about the lion and the greyhound. You know, and that you can use that in so many ways in your life, right? And your show's about identity. It's about which one are you going to be. You know, the other one that comes to mind is, are you a fountain or are you a drain? God told me that one time. I really liked it. He's like, you know, hey man, I come to work in the morning and I see this guy coming down the hall and I go, oh no, I hope he don't stop at my office again today. I hope he don't come in here and sit down. You know, he's a drain. He drains all my energy, you know. Then the other guy walks down the hall and goes, man, I hope he stops by and got some time to talk. I love talking to this guy. He's amazing, man. He makes my day. In fact, I'm going to flag him down, tell him to come in. You know, are you a fountain or are you a drain? So I love the theme of your show. It's good.
And that's what happened. It was an idea, and I started reaching out to people, and the conversations just kept going. And then people are sending me messages and DMs and posts and all that stuff. And it's a very sticky idea, and it really does get people to think about the patterns in life. And so again, it's the tagline is how high performers make decisions, act, and grow. And so it's helping people identify the patterns of not only high performers of what they're trying to achieve to be and whatever it is they're trying to do, but in themselves and see, where am I today? Do I need to be a little bit more of a greyhound than a lion because that's the position I need to be in right this second? But overall in life, it's about looking at these things, and it's not a blueprint. It's not, if you want to be the next Jalen Hurts, this is the way you do it. It's looking at what's going to suit you individually and help you get to whatever it is that you want to do.
Let's wait a minute. Let's talk about this lion and greyhound.
Let's
The
do it.
greyhound makes its decisions on feelings. I'm not feeling it. Hit that in if I'm not feeling it. Because you're talking about decisions. So I don't feel like going on. I feel like quitting. I feel like I need comfort. I feel like eating whatever I want. I feel like everyone today is offended. Last days, more people offended because that's a feeling. So you walk around all touchy or self pity. That's a feeling. This program is about decisions. The key to the greyhound and the lion, this is Alabama thing Saban and I did. The greyhound, it's all about a feeling. I feel hungry, I eat. I don't, I don't. Great ones has nothing to do with feeling. It's choice. Everything's a choice. I choose to be intense. I choose to hunt, not fish. I choose to forgive. I choose. You said this morning about jogging. I got up, I looked at my clock, got in the middle of the night, and said, I choose to get my shoes on. Did I feel like it? No, I didn't feel like it. So to just even take it further, I choose it, and I choose until I become it. And the difference is it's attitude. The lion is not the biggest, that's the rhinoceros, it's not the tallest, it's the giraffe, it's not the smartest, that's the hyena. Don't care, the hyena laughs at it. It's not even the strongest, that's the elephant. The elephant can crush it anytime it wants. But when a lion looks at the elephant, it thinks lunch. When the elephant looks at the lion, it says, I am lunch. It's all a choice. And so your thing is, I'll tell you how people are great. They decide to be great. I can tell you how people are kind. They decide. It's all choice. And they choose it until here comes the phrase. They're wired with it. And so why is the line? He's wired. It's just wired. This is my area. This is my pride. You came up in here. I'm sorry, but I'm wired to take it. I claimed it. And so it's back to even yourself with branding. I'm branded a lion. I'm branded a lioness. So the two people, one goes on feeling, one goes on choice. Class dismissed.
Wow. I mean, literally, if I could drop this thing, I would. So if you guys are watching, fantastic, Kevin. And there's so many tie-ins what you guys are talking about right now in the book. Jill Blashick Strahan talks about what is this doing for me as opposed to why is this happening to me. Sika Henry talks about, I can't remember what book it's from, but always believe something wonderful is about to happen. D Brown, NBA legend, talked about those who are disciplined and those who are undisciplined, right? Because you can wake up, I don't feel like going to the gym today. I don't feel like doing whatever. Or those that go, it's 5 o'clock, I'm going to the gym, and that's it.
Yeah, I once I choose it, and here's what a phrase he's talking about earworm. You're not trying to inspire, you're trying to wire. It's different. When you choose it over and over and over, inspiration's for amateurs. Everybody's addicted to inspiration. You choose it over and over till you get wired with it. And so what Mitch is saying about the DNA, the lion is wired to hunt. It's wired. Doesn't matter what's going on. It's wired that way. Neurons are fired together, wired together. They're little wires that make up your mind. You do something over and over, you get wired to do it. Wired with your choices. Wired. Inspiration, amateur work.
That's we talk about motivation a lot on this show, and it's a flash in the pan, right? You can't rely on motivation to get through anything. And you're absolutely right. I've never heard it said, but basically you're either motivated or you're wired. Another two types. Man, we're going through like six of them on this. This is amazing, guys.
Yeah. I think, what Mitch was saying is up there with up there with the UFC fight, Monster, and his athlete won. And Mitch is being humble, but he's coached Gronkowski through Monster. He's coached Kurt Busch. He just was at Cal's funeral. The line of Greyhound, we used to coach Kurt on it. One time, Kurt is racing Cal in Atlanta. He's saying, "Be the lion, be the lion, be the lion." While he's saying it, uh, Cal was mad at his pit crew, so he gave me your number one gestures. He thought he was winning, and the line passed him, and Kurt won it down in Atlanta. Well, I think it was Atlanta 400. But what like he does is Mitch goes and he coaches Gronkowski. He coaches Kurt Busch. He coaches a lot of those different guys, Calhoun, and kind of that's what we're doing. We're starting the speakers bureau. I'm speaking like crazy. He's speaking like crazy, but I'm like, Mitch, let you and I get up with you and I interview these athletes on things like what we're just talking about here. I've already done it with Howie Roseman at the Eagles and Tom Coughlin with the Giants and Billy Donovan. And so, really, what you're trying to look at is how did they wire themselves to win? How they do it over and over and over. And what you're going to find is as you repeat stuff, you get wired with it, not inspired with it, the repetition of it. And that's what we're trying to do. Back to that fight on the White House lawn. The one fighter, it was about, I feel like I'm going to win. I'm celebrating. I love a phrase from Nehemiah. He said, Israel is in ruins and there's fire at the gate. Urgency, tension, getting ready to go. And so his fighter said, well, I'm going in with some urgency. I'm going to win this fight before I win this fight. The other guy goes, I already won it. And just teaching that urgency and be wired like, there's a fight. I got to win this fight before I fight it. The other guy, he didn't fight it. So that's kind of what you're doing. You're trying to more wire the person through repetition and through speaking. And earworm is let's talk about this phrase earworm. Earworm is a phrase that you use over and over and over till you wire your brain with. It almost sounds like a song. So we did for years in Alabama. See a little, see a lot, see a lot, see nothing. Thank you, I owe you. So what? Now what? Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Saban almost spoke it like a song. And you might not like this verdict, but earworm this verdict. If it doesn't fit, you've got to quit. On a related topic, my porch is right here, and they were like fixing it for winter. So I had a big crime tape in front of it, and I have a white Bronco, and it was sitting in front of the house. They got a little nervous up here. They thought, did OJ move in? So what we're trying to do is when you speak it, you neurological take it. And so you hear Mitch talking, be the lion. So what, now what? Be where your feet are. When you earworm it, you won't hear commercials say they're not singing liberty, liberty, liberty. What they're trying to do is earworm their product in your head. That's what they're doing. So our system is most people go to a psychologist. I got this song in my head. I can't get it out. Mitch's a musician. He could talk about this. I can't get it out. We put it in. In years in Alabama, we put it in. And you would hear Saban almost talking in earworms. And so what I do with Mitch when he worked with Gronkowski and work with a lot of the athletes, what we'll do is I'll give him a message, then he'd earworm it into their head. Mitch, talk about how you did that with Gronkowski.
Well, when we were working with Gronk, Kevin, he was at the Bucks, and they needed to win like I think 7 or 8 in a row to win the Super Bowl, but they had to win like 5 or 6 in a row just to make it to the playoffs. They were in a can't lose situation. They lose, they're out. And Kevin was giving me some really good earworms at the time, and I'm like, me and Gronk like to have fun. I mean, me and Rob, we became for probably 12 years. We sponsored Rob, and feel like family. And so I decided, hey, I'll paraphrase. I'll take one of Kevin's. I think it was a line in the Greyhound was the first one. and I'll um I'll record that on my iPhone and text it to Rob the day before the game. And so I did, and I copied his dad and all that, you know. Well, they got such a kick out of it that they were like, "Hey, you got to do it next week. We won. We won. We have to do it again. You can't stop now until we, you know." Well, so um, every Saturday, I would get it from Dr. Elko. I don't claim any authorship other than how I said it. Uh, and I would take it and paraphrase what he told me, and I would give this, I don't know, maybe 5 minute talk to Rob over the cell phone. And he told me after about three of them, he goes, "Look, I don't watch those until I run out on the field for the second time. So we go out and we loosen up, and then we come back in the locker room." He says, "When I come back in the locker room, I watch them." And he said, "So don't," like he told all the other guys on the text, don't tell me about it until after the game, right? Because I'm watching it right before I go out." And he anyway, long story short, they won the Super Bowl. They didn't lose the game. They ran out. Me and Kevin took all the credit, and you know that the tight end, you know, was the man. And so
This stuff works really well when they can catch the football, by the way.
And they've got some God-given abilities and
Block and
talents and
tackle, it's really
structure.
good.
yeah, we had something to work with there.
So funny. So I'm sure you know Gordy Gronkowski. So I played with him at JU. So I've known the Gronkowskis since way back. So I know Papa Gronk and all those guys. So
Yeah. They were on the text. That's who was on the text. Yeah, you can ask him about him. We had fun with it.
that's fantastic. Great stories, guys. Well, all right. So you're making my job extremely easy today. So we could do this for another few hours if you want, but I'm sure you got stuff to do. But you started talking about music, and I love that you did that because that is one of the questions I love to ask. And I'm not even going to preface it. I'm just going to ask the question and then let you guys go with it. So if there was one song that is your walk up song, and I know you guys understand that phrasing, what would be your walk up song for life?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I knew you was going to ask that. I saw it on the internet. You know, I like whatever song I just listened to. You know, so I would probably not have one walkout song. I'd have a different one. Uh, you know,
Are
and
you
I
having all over the place guy, a little country, a little rap, a little everything?
yeah, you know, I'm a Willie Nelson guy, and I'm a Hank Williams Jr. guy. So I'd probably come out to Country Boy Can Survive.
There it is. See, we got there. All right.
Yeah.
That's a classic. Kevin, how about you?
You know what? I play guitar here, and I every day I play a couple of them. One I play is Credence. Have you ever seen the rain? Because it's really we know about the song. It's really about Credence breaking up, and John Fogerty wrote it, and and the whole idea of coming back. I read how when you sing a song, your dopamine changes, and I put my capo on a second fret once a day, and I sing because I kind of channeled the guy during some tough times. I like raindrops keep falling on my head because I like channeling Butch Cassidy in that movie. How he's just happy. I mean, he was just a happy human being, and he was just playful. And there was a time I was going through some challenges, and he plays it. B.J. Thomas plays it on a ukulele, so I put a capo on, and I sing it once a day. That doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red. So and then I'm not listening to any of her other songs, but I always want to be moving towards something. I like in the Bible where Caleb was 80 years old and said, "Give me a mountain to climb." And I don't know of her other music, but I love the song "The Climb" by Miley Cyrus. I love that song.
These are great answers, guys. I like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, my daughter's best friend Nina sings it, and I can't help crying. You know, and really, look, I don't need anything right now in my life. But one of the things that Mitch and I become best friends. You know why? We climb together. We're starting a movie company. We're starting a speakers bureau. We don't need it, Him and I are like Caleb. Give us a mountain to climb. Give me something to climb. And that song, I mean, I got emotions just talking about it. Give me something in my life. Give me something new I want to climb and go after. Let me hunt. Let me go hunt. And I always believed one of my degrees in gerontology is the study of aging. People don't get old. They quit growing, they get old. I like the Creedence song about coming back. I like Raindrops about he just acts himself into happy. And I love the scene in Butch Cassidy when he's riding the bike and singing it. I thought that was really cool. But I also like to climb. I always want to be climbing something. And that's really what my relationship is with Mitch. It's what I call a growth relationship where we're growing, we're sharing, we get on the phone about every day and talk about something new we learned, something new we experienced, and some new challenge. So that's probably the longer answer you want, but those are my three.
That's exactly the answer I wanted, Kevin. Thank you. That was incredible. And that the whole idea, it started with actual walk-up songs. What was your walk-up song in college? What was yours? Oh, and so then it started. You think about big moments in life, and music is always connected to it. Weddings and funerals and things like that. And so it's people have stories about, oh, this was my walk-up song. In high school, it was when we won a championship, whatever. So I just like to hear. Like you said, Kevin, I like hearing the way people think and why they answer these questions the way they do, because to me it brings a lot of clarity on who these people are.
Yeah, I like growth motivated people.
Agreed. Agreed. So let me finish, guys. And again, thank you so much for coming on. This has been an incredible conversation. I appreciate the time. What you mentioned a few things. So what are you guys doing together right now? How can people find you? I know you're all over the country speaking, so give them a place to find you and connect with you guys.
Go to drelko.com, drelko.com. That's the website. On there, you'll see a click on, I guess you call it, about what Mitch and I are doing. And what we're doing, he's busy speaking, I'm busy speaking. We came up with a new idea by the request of people out there who responded to a need, where what we're doing is we're working with Chris Dunworth, our agent, and what we're doing is developing talks. And we've already done, we've done about a half a dozen of them where we're going up on stage, him and I, and we're bringing in one of our athletes. And I just did this in New York with Tom Coughlin. We just did it up in Chicago with Billy Donovan. Just did it twice in Philadelphia with Howie Roseman. Bringing on even some of the athletes that Mitch has worked with. And we're bringing them up on stage. But we realized a lot of these, if you just let some of these people go speak, they're not trained speakers. And so what we're doing is similar to what you're doing here. We have a set of questions we're asking and leading them about their life and about what they've done, and we're doing it up on stage as a talk. And so if you go to drelko.com, you'll get you could click on there and contact us, and we'll come and do a talk for your company. We're doing one in January. We're doing a full day for someone out there. We're doing one in Palm Springs coming up in December as well. And again, Mitch and I speak in prisons. We have a prison ministry that we do, and we've spoken together. We just spoke together at Baylor University, their football team. So if you contact us, and sooner or later we're going to bring Rachel with us. If you contact us, you'll get Mitch and I up on stage with an athlete and driving the narrative, stealing Rachel's word, to give you a good fit to your company and what you're trying to do, motivate it. So once again, go to drelko.com, and then you'll get that good looking Mitch Covington up there on that stage. And the only thing you have to understand is uh, you'll have two hillbillies on stage. That's all I can guarantee you. They call me, my real name is Phil, actually, so they call me Dr. Phil Billy at home. And Mitch, he's the ultimate hillbilly. So that's what you won't get if you get us to. Mitch, anything to add?
No, man, go to drelko.com.
And drink a Monster Energy while you're looking around the site, right?
It never hurts. Give it. It's the juice of lions, not greyhounds.
You
Juice
know
of
what?
lime.
And it's a special. If you ever got inside there and seen what they created, what they've done, you see Hilton's work, their CEO. I love their CEO Rob. Believe me, Monster is a special place, and we even um, their athletes there. your book. They're a brand. They're surely a brand.
Yeah, I've been blessed. It's a lot of fun. I don't know how it happened or keeps happening, but it does. Um, so so yeah, it's been fun. Now we got Dr. Elko talking sense into us every day, so that helps.
Mitch, one more question for you, if you don't mind. You have anything big on the horizon? I mean, coming off the White House, you got anything planned that you can talk about?
Well, um, that was a big one. It's going to be hard to replicate that. That's probably gonna be hard. My favorite things are are maybe smaller events than that. They're the motocross championships around the world championship, the American motocross championship. Those things we built our brand on. It really wasn't the big things. It was the little things. It was the snowboard championships, the downhill mountain bike championships. All those kind of things are really big. I look forward to going to Australia in August to go to a snowboard event in Australia. Those are the kind of everyday, every weekend things that Monster does. And the big things are the MotoGP championship, the Formula One championship, the NASCAR championship. We got a guy in fifth place that's been ultra consistent in Ty Gibbs. Uh, those are the kinds of things I look forward to.
That's fantastic. Well, guys, again, I thank you tremendously for coming on today. And Rachel, thank you again for introducing me to Dr. Elko and Mitch. Please go to drelko.com to find these guys. There's smiling faces up there on the website. Find out what they can do to come into your company. And yeah, check out Kevin's books. And that is it. So, guys, thank you again. If you like this episode, please share it with someone you like. And until next time.
Thanks, you guys. God bless everybody.